because they'll forget. Perfect. And I'm going to go live on Instagram and then you'll join in there. Okay.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. We are live today for a very special live where we are talking to Saima from the 2 a.m. talk. So let me just pin what we are chatting about. I am super pumped. This is going to be a really juicy live. I haven't done a live for a while. I think my last live was the donut live. So let's talk. Let's call this the 2 a.m. talk. Hello, everyone who's joining. Assalamu alaikum. We see Timbertail Studios. Hello, Doe, the Hall Edit. Yusra, Faiza. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Oh, Jazakallah khair. This shirt is from, actually, I can't remember what it's called, but it's obviously my Palestine shirt. And also hello to everyone who is watching on another platform, which I cannot mention right now because it's a surprise, but we are live on 2 platforms today. And I am just going to add Saima in so we can get started. So let's add her in. This is going to be so much fun today. Hello, there you are.
Hey, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Good, walaikum salam. How are you doing?
Good. Really, really excited to be doing this live with you.
Awesome. All right. So I am just adjusting my headphones because I think they got disconnected. Can you say something now?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Let me just reconnect my AirPods. Perfect. I think that's better. How's the sound, everyone? Anyone got any feedback on the sound? I think we are good. There is an echo.
Oh,
is there
there's
still
an echo?
Saima, do you want to? I think it's okay now. I think they're a bit behind.
I hear it a bit too, but hold on.
Yeah, I'm definitely not hearing you through my AirPods.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you, but it's not coming through my AirPods. Someone said great. Try this again. There's always tech stuff, always, even though
they're saying very clear sound.
Okay. Yeah.
I hear the echo on my end for some reason, but it's bearable.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, do you want to try this? Is this better? Do you want to say something, Saima?
I still hear a bit of no, actually we're good. We're good.
Okay, so I just
perfect.
Switched things around a bit.
Oh no, there's an echo from 2 a.m. Should I unplug my AirPods, do you think?
I think we're good now because they're a bit behind. So let's see. How's the volume now? Is it better?
It's good now.
It's good now. Yes, I think they're just a bit behind. All right, so let's pretend this is the starting right now. Assalamu alaikum, Saima, and welcome. Saima is from the 2 a.m. talk. If you saw her post today, she said that her product would prevent us from spending those nights at 2 a.m. telling jinn stories. Like, what is this? Tell us about who you are and your business.
Yeah, for sure. So the 2 a.m. talk was launched last year for Ramadan. And essentially it's, here, let me show you what it looks like. It's a conversation starter game on spiritual conversation. So each box comes with 2 decks of cards. There is level 1, which is us. And this level really discusses or prompts conversations on society, on Islam, on the larger community. So anyone really external from who you are. And then you move on to the second deck of cards, which is called Self. And this one is really just exploring yourself, your values, where you stand on a personal level when it comes to different topics related to Islam or related to spirituality. So I really started this game because I've had these conversations with my groups of friends so many times. We love having these long nights up until Fajr where we're talking and just having a good time and getting really, really deep. And we all know the deepest conversations happen after 2 a.m., which is what inspired the name of this product. And, you know, I've grown up in such a diverse community. I have a really diverse set of friends. So we all have a very open mind and we love learning about each other. And I thought it would be great to share this kind of conversation that we've always been having with everyone else so that they could take it on themselves and do it on their own.
It's so cool. It really takes games night to like a halal level and like a
Yeah.
different kind of level, because games nights for us, like we do get really close with our friends that we do games nights with, but this kind of like takes you to another spiritual level where you're able to connect with people in a different way. So I know I was super excited about this game because my husband and I are kind of banned from games actually because we're so competitive. Yeah, but with this game, I mean, like there's no winner. I think you're all winners because you're playing for the sake of Allah, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the key is to just come to the game with an open mind. You could be playing with people who might even be atheists or might be on like another end of the spectrum when it comes to religion. And you just kind of learn and open your mind and your ears to what it is that they value and why it is that they think a different way. And sometimes it can even trigger more thought and more exploration in religion after the game's done.
I love that so much. So I think the best way to demonstrate what the game is about is to play it. So let's do it. I'm nervous, but let's do it.
It's fun. It's not an Islamic quiz. Don't worry. They're really fun questions. And yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so we'll start with the first question. How has social media shaped your spirituality? And we're playing from level 1 here.
Ooh, and when you start playing, who gets to choose the first card? Like, does it matter or anyone?
It doesn't matter. It's an open conversation, so it doesn't matter who picks it up.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so the question is, how has social media shaped your spirituality?
Okay. So
I can go first.
Yeah, okay.
It's up to you, like if you have an answer.
I was just gonna say the first thing that came to mind is I'm actually shocked at what came to mind, because I feel like what actually came to mind is not what I thought I would say. So what first came to my mind is how much I've learned on social media about my spirituality and how much I've grown and how much it's become a bigger part of my life, because I see it all the time. And I've definitely concepts that I didn't understand growing up because of the medium in which they were taught. I just never understood. Whereas now over social media, like I can think of so many people who they've taught me so much. So for me, it's been a lot of growth. And even as I'm saying it, I'm like, oh my God, but I always talk about how bad social media is. So like, what's happening? Yeah. What about you?
I definitely have a similar experience, I think. And I think a lot of people feel like this too, unless you're really involved in your mosque and in your community, you can sometimes feel like an outsider, and it doesn't feel like a very like approachable place to start learning from scratch at any age. And I felt like social media it just gives you the tools to do it on your own. And it's not necessarily always right. Like there's a lot of, fake news online, so you have to be careful. But there is definitely such a welcoming community at any level of your spirituality, I feel like. And it was just so easy to kind of know what was going on and to just up your game. So for example, let's say it's Laylatul Qadr, the night of power. That's a very obvious example. Let's say it's like an eclipse. So for like the sect that I follow, eclipses are like kind of a big deal. We have to pray like obligatory prayers. And what if I, just didn't know because I wasn't staying up to date with what's going on at the mosque? I would just see a post online and it would be like, oh, tonight's an eclipse. And then it'd be like such an easy infographic. Like, this is what you have to pray. This is what you should do. This is how you should prepare. And like small things like that just made religion such a daily habit for me, because you see those constant reminders made so easy. So I'm really surprised that social media has shaped my spirituality well, in a good way. There's obviously negatives to it as well, but I think mostly it's been positive for me.
Yeah. And it's true about the accessibility. What you said is like, because when you like, I mean, growing up, going to the masjid, like as a Muslim born Pakistani, it's not like I could say like, I don't really understand this thing that I'm supposed to understand.
Yeah.
Like you just wouldn't. It's not something you could do. Whereas I actually even remember when I lived in Pickering, I was telling you about how I lived there. When I lived in Pickering and I was working, I actually bought this book from the bookstore called Islam for Dummies. And again, literally grew up as a Muslim, went to Islamic school, like my parents pray and everything. Like
Mhm.
but I still felt like the basics, there was
The
nowhere for me to
fundamentals.
like learn about those. And there was Instagram then, but it wasn't a big deal. But oh no,
Mhm.
there was Facebook then. I'm so old. There was Facebook then, but there wasn't Instagram. But yeah, I feel like the accessibility has definitely increased. I wanted to read a comment. Somebody wrote something really profound. Blissful Eid said, social media is a magic toolbox that gives you a way to pace your spirituality.
Yeah, totally.
Wow. Yeah. And yeah, just
Without
wow.
judgment.
Yeah. And you'll
Yeah.
always find someone who you can relate to.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. Like you can really just start at any level and find your community.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually so surprised that that's what I am feeling about social media and spirituality, because I definitely I feel like I have focused on the negatives in the past. But
Yeah, and it's also based on your algorithm. So I think if you're looking
yeah.
for positive content, you're going to see it. There are probably Muslims out there who are maybe like very turned off by religion, and they're seeing content based on their algorithm that pushes them even further away from
Yeah.
spirituality. So I
Yeah.
think it definitely depends on the person as well. But yeah, really interesting. Do you want to move on to the next question?
Sorry, can I just add one thing? I could
Yeah,
actually
yeah, go
I
ahead.
could stay on this topic for like ever, but
That's
I
good.
like something else, like the honest truth is that for me, social media and my presence actually makes it easier for me to wear a hijab.
Oh.
Um, because for me, it's so much more than not even just wear hijab, but like be better and want to be a better Muslim, because
Hmm.
I feel that it's more of a community that we're all kind of striving together. And I know that like when one of us is takes a step back, like everyone
Hmm.
is kind of impacted or whatnot. So I definitely think twice about what I wear for sure, because I'm,
Hmm.
on social media. I think twice about what I say and what I'm sharing, even when I'm out. So it's just this extra added level of almost accountability that social media gives me, which is mind blowing because it's usually the
Yeah.
opposite.
Actually, that's so true. So I started wearing hijab myself a year ago when I
Mhm.
after I launched the 2 a.m. talk actually.
Beautiful.
And I think social media made me feel so empowered because there's so many people like me and you. And I never felt like an outsider because of it. And I think a lot of my friends who started hijab when they were younger, they didn't have like that social media presence to see that there are other hijabis out there that are cool hijabis. They're
Mhm.
like businesswomen like yourself, or they're DIYers. They're doing anything and everything as hijabis, and they're proud of it. They're showing everyone. So it never felt, maybe to them, they didn't see that as much and they kind of felt the struggle more. But so far, alhamdulillah, I haven't really struggled with my image as a hijabi so far. And I think it's again because I see such positive role models on social media.
Yeah, and we again, like I love that so much. Yaz the Spaz, who's a huge influencer, she was the reason why the main reason why I like took the plunge, because I was
Uh-huh.
like, you know what, I can do this and I don't have to be a perfect Muslim before I do it. And it's a journey. So and she's obviously on social media. And I think we don't talk about that enough. I think we talk a lot about like, oh, this person took off their hijab and like, how could she wear this? But like what we don't talk about is the positives.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I'm
We
fully
definitely
inspired.
don't.
Yeah, I'm fully inspired right now to like stop hating on social media.
Yeah, and I think even in our mosque, like we're constantly being told like everyone focuses too much on social media, your whole lives are like spent here, and there is obviously a truth to it. There are negative consequences of being online too much, but there are so many positives, especially when it comes to empowerment and identity, that I think we don't, like we overlook a lot of the times. And that's why that's why me and you are so shocked right now that we have a positive feeling towards social media at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely something to reflect on further. And for everyone who is watching as well, like you can write your comments as well when we have when we talk about the questions. Go ahead and share them or reflect on them upon them yourselves. I definitely want to ask this question once I find my game, which is somewhere at home, to my husband who's not on social media. So it would be
Oh.
interesting to hear his perspective as someone who's like not even using social media,
Uh-huh.
what he thinks. So yeah, I can fully see how one card would be the entire game. Like you just, right?
Especially when you have more people.
I know. Yeah. Awesome.
Okay.
Okay. Do you think we should go on to the next question?
Yeah, let's do the next
cool.
question.
Yeah.
So we're still sticking to level 1 us. And this question is, in 50 years, what will Islam look like in the West? In your opinion, what do you think it'll look like in the West?
Am I just negative Nancy? Like I keep every time you ask a question, the first thing is like, well, this is what I thought I was gonna say. And okay, I'm just gonna be honest of what first came to mind. Like I'm not really reflecting a whole lot right now, but I'm really worried. One of my biggest concerns in general is like my future, is it called your ancestors or no, like my future children's generations. Yeah. One of my concerns is that I'll do something that will cause some of my future generations to not be Muslim. And I am actually really worried about the future of Islam, like in 50 years. Yeah, I'm extremely worried from like a personal individual sense. Because it's so easy. It's so easy and so even easy to explain why you wouldn't continue practicing.
Yeah.
Because of this whole self-love, me first kind of thing and the selfishness. But on the other hand, nothing happens without Allah's will. So it's nothing that I'm doing or you're doing that's going to keep Islam around. Like, you know, it's Allah's plan.
Yeah, I think, like, do you feel like the current generation is already on a path away? Like, do you think majority of people are more like away from religion, or is that why you feel like that's the case?
I'm so perplexed right now as I'm like, oh, no. I don't. I'm just thinking about this youth group that I have too. And it's like 10 girls who are, you know, preteen or teen. And they're way more interested in Islam than I was. And they're way more willing to ask the questions that I was too scared to. So no, and even my kids actually are way more excited about Allah than I ever was. You're making me feel better right now.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be, like, obviously pros and cons, but I think just based on what we're seeing now, I see the younger generation just taking more interest and more in-depth like exploration of religion more than before. But I also think that they're like everything, like every issue in the world right now, there are like two polar extremes. There's no like in between. And I think there's going to be an extremely religious side and an extremely non-religious side. I think so far it's been like a good mix. But I think as we're moving more towards like the next 50 years and what we're seeing on social media, how we're seeing different groups react to different issues, like Ukraine, for example, we're seeing two totally different sides. Any issue, Black Lives Matters, anything at all. We've seen like any election, there are two extremes always. And that's what I think the Islam doesn't look like in the West in the 50 years. There's going to be two extremes. But I also think that there's going to be a lot of unity. Because in the next 50 years, we're all going to be sharing the same language. It's going to be English probably, and we're all going to be more diverse. We're going to be around each other a lot more than before. I think right now we've just been drawn to our own cultures, even in our own mosques. Like the Pakistanis are on one side, the like Indians on the other side. Like there are like different centers for different cultures. And I think because our mother tongue is probably going to be gone in the next 50 years, unfortunately, there will be more of that unity through English and more acceptance of diversity in that sense. But I think it's going to be very religious and not cultural anymore.
Ooh, that's deep. That's almost like, that's what I kind of want. Like, I wish things were more religious and less cultural. Was also like understanding the importance of culture and the beauty of that too. Yeah, I was
going to
also
be confusing.
I was calculating like I'll be what 87 in 50 years. So we can do this
Oh,
again in 50 years.
okay,
And
I'll be
like
there.
it'll be like holograms or something. Like we won't even have to be there. We'll just like meet and yeah, that'll be interesting. And I think this would be cool, a cool game to play with our parents
Yeah, for sure.
because
And I wonder what they thought like 50 years ago.
I mean, I don't think my parents would have thought we would be doing as good as we are now.
I think they were way more laid back.
I think they were also way more worried. Maybe how I was worried, saying like, oh no, like what's gonna happen? Because for sure, I think they were a bit more worried because I remember hearing sentiments of like, oh, girls who live in the West, like, Pakistani girls who leave, like they're wild. And now when I'm like, that wasn't true at all. Like we're actually, a lot of us are more connected, but yeah. So this game's not just for your group of friends. You could play with your
Anyone.
parents
Yeah,
too. Huh.
exactly.
Someone said something that I wanted to mention. She said, I can't find it now, but she said, when COVID happened, a lot of people started connecting more with Islam. And yeah, the truth is like something could happen in the next 50 years. Like we would never imagine that COVID would have happened, right? And for sure
Yeah.
that did increase a lot of our spirituality. So Allah has a way of kind of like regaining that balance for all of us too, where it's
Yeah,
like,
I hope it's not another pandemic though.
oh gosh, yeah, hopefully we'll be dead by then.
Yeah,
Do
I
you think we
definitely
should?
saw a change in my own spirituality. Like I started hijab in COVID. And I
Yeah,
think it's because like I just had the time to step away from like community obligations and like attending the mosque and like, kind of like a checkbox.
yeah.
And just spending the time on my own, taking things on my own and just working by myself that really pushed me to kind of accelerate that spirituality.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of us felt that way for sure. And sorry, I'm just going back to the game. Now I'm just thinking, you could play this by yourself as a
Yeah.
journaling. It could be a journaling prompt. I know a lot of my followers love journaling. So these are
Mhm.
basically journaling prompts, or even if you have, that's on your own, but even if you're someone who has like halakha or book club, or even an iftar party,
Yeah,
instead of
exactly.
gossiping about people, like pull out the freaking game and play it.
Yeah, and it's very light. Like the questions aren't too crazy. So I think everyone's able to contribute. I definitely did encourage like the 2 a.m. talk crew, like our followers,
Yeah.
to start using them as prompts if they wanted to just do it themselves.
Mhm.
And I've done it by like these questions all came through my own self-reflection. So it's definitely something that you could take on your own. You could play with 2 people or you could play it with like 10 people. It works with everything and everyone.
This is very cool. I could even see it being something like if you're on a road trip with your family,
Yeah,
again, instead of just like gossiping or hating on each other, like play the freaking game, like play the game. Yeah,
it's productive.
it's definitely more productive. Do you think we could do one more? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Someone said, what's the name of the game? It's called the 2 a.m. talk, and it's in my feed, but I'll share it as well after this live. I'll share her handle, but it is just the 2 a.m. talk.
Okay, so let's move on to level 2. So this one is
Ooh,
more about the self.
okay.
Let's do like we want to play 2 questions in this level and then we could wrap it up.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Okay, so the first question, how has your relationship with God changed as you've gotten older?
Definitely has gotten better. Like I've felt closer and I've been a lot less judgmental of myself.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, so now I look at it like my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one of unconditional love. And this,
Mhm.
my teacher taught me this on Say Shehnaz. Whereas growing up, it was definitely conditional. Like, if you don't do this, you're going to hell. If you don't, yeah. And we've all had that at some point in our life, and maybe you still do. But now the relationship is very much like Allah's unconditional love is my foundation. So that's a quote that I kind of live by. And
Mhm.
it's less of a like um it's less of a formal relationship, and it's more of like I talk to Allah like all day.
Mhm.
like namaz, I look at that as like I meet Allah 5 times a day and I talk to him in the car sometimes. Like it's just like very much he's part of like every living, breathing moment versus like if I don't read Quran, I'm gonna go to hell, or if I miss namaz. So it's changed for the better for sure. And
I think, oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say, and I do have my parents to thank for that because they gave me the foundation to like explore.
Rely.
Yeah, and explore too, and connect in a way that worked for me. Yeah.
So for me, I feel like when I was younger, and I talked about this on the 2 a.m. page before, when I was younger, I used to easily rely and like just give like Allah everything. Like everything will work out, have full faith, and just like know that it's going to be for the best. I feel like as I've gotten older, I've learned to really take things in control myself, and I have a hard time letting go of that control and just trusting that it will work out. And I think it's because of like that hustle culture that we're in. Like, you know, you have to manifest and it's going to happen. You have to take, you know, make out a plan and it's going to happen. And it's just really giving you all the resources, and like the onus is on you to make things happen. And you know, it takes 2 feet to walk. So obviously there is some truth to that. You do have to put an effort on your end. But I think I've really minimized how much I rely or have faith in Allah for just making it all work out in the end. Like I do my effort and he just makes it work. I think I've really just taken it on fully, and it freaks me out sometimes because if I can see things not working out, or if I start seeing things in a negative way and I don't see a positive outcome, I start to freak out, and I forget that, you know, I have God that can help me, and there are rewards of worship and prayer and having faith and reliance in a higher power for a reason. But I keep forgetting that. And I think when I was younger, it was so much easier to me than it is now.
Wow. That's interesting because I was thinking about my kids and how it's very easy for them, like almost what you're talking about when you were a kid. And I just assumed that like it's always going to be like that, but it's not necessary. Yeah. And for me, like I think as you get older, and that's something like for you as well, like different moments in your life can switch you back to how you were when you were younger, or for me, switch me back as well. And this whole like let go and let God personality and the reliance it changed after I had triplets, because that was like the ultimate loss of control for me.
Yeah, I can imagine
that situation. And both my husband and I now are extremely easygoing in the sense that there's hardly anything that can faze me at this point. And I just like, I know that I don't have any control over everything. I do the things, but at the end of the day, like Allah can move mountains. He can give people triplets who weren't going to have any babies. So for me now, it's very much a let go and let God. And again, who knows, like, you know, may Allah keep me this way. But nothing is certain. Like we can all waver and change in terms of our path. Someone saying multiples will do that to you. Yeah. Allah always has a way, right? Like when we're kind of wavering or whatnot.
Yeah.
Like
and I think like I have 2 sisters. So every time like a new baby is born, it always reminds me, I'm like, you know, people think this is all just science and like, it's just human nature. You could give birth and like, it's just a part of being human. There's really no miracle involved. But every time like I have a new nephew or like there's a new baby that's born, I'm just like, there's no way that like God isn't playing a part in this. Like there's no way at all that it's just us that are making this happen. And I think you're right. Like those big pivotal moments are the ones that bring you back and kind of like make that full circle for you.
Yeah, they're just miracles, and Allah always gives us his signs. And there's an ayah, right, that talks about there's signs for the believers. Like some people will look at, you know, the smallest thing and that reminds them of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where many of the rest of us, like we can't see those things right in front of us, and we're all on a journey, right? So yeah, this is so deep, man.
We could go on forever. Let's move on to the last question.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Does your career bring you closer to your ideal self? So some of these questions, like as you can see, they're very open-ended. You don't even have to have a belief.
Yeah.
You could have an idea of where ideal self is without, having that Islamic or spiritual aspect involved, but it's just interesting to hear everyone's answer. So I'll repeat it again. Does your career bring you closer to your ideal self?
I guess you'd have to know your ideal self first.
Yeah.
You go first for this one. I'm like wondering.
I need a minute.
Okay.
I think for me, my ideal self is to be a good servant of Allah, but have a good balance in both deen and dunya. Like it's everyone's, aspiration to just be that perfect balance. But I think for me, career, because it's something you do like 8 hours a day, every single day, it has such a big impact on your life that it really should be included in your conversation with yourself of whether or not it's bringing you towards that person you want to be, and it's helping you achieve that balance. Before last year, I was working at a big corporation, and I felt like it wasn't bringing me to my ideal self because I was just dedicating so much time and time spent thinking on things that weren't bringing me to that balance that I want to achieve in life. I had a lot of ethical issues too with, some of the activities, and I just didn't feel like there was any gain at this point from being in that position. So I am fortunate to be able to quit my job, and that's what I ended up doing. And I started my own business. And I feel like now that I have the time to be my own boss, to pray when I need to pray, read Quran when I need to read Quran, just spend the time reflecting, doing positive work that impacts people that I feel need, the help and support, exactly like what you do actually, but you do it way better, 100 times better. Gosh. I just love being in control in that way and spending my time wisely. So I think now my career is starting to bring me closer to my ideal self.
That's so beautiful. And to discover that at that time, at this time in your life is really special. So, what's interesting, and by the way, we didn't talk about these questions before this live, but I feel like you've selected ones that are just so telling. Just recently, I actually felt like maybe what I'm doing is not actually bringing out my ideal self and helping me be my best self. And yeah, I'll be chatting about it after Ramadan, where I'm going to just be sharing a little bit about some changes I'm going to be making here. And I guess I'm sharing it here first.
We get the exclusive.
I know. And it's something that this is something I reflect on often, is what I'm working on for the most hours in the day bringing me closer to Allah. And again, it doesn't have to be, it could be any job. It doesn't have to be your own business, because I also know that there's women out there who really thrive in their 9 to 5, and it doesn't mean that they're any less spiritual, right? But for me, there's definitely some changes I need to make so that I can be my, closer to who my ideal self is. But I do think that being an entrepreneur has given me the flexibility to fulfill those pillars that I want, like fulfilling the spiritual aspect of learning. So always having some sort of Islamic course that fits into my schedule, making sure that I can be myself online, and not just because I wear a hijab, but I can say my inshallahs and mashallahs and that's just being my authentic self. But I know that originally when I quit my job back 7 years ago, it was 11 years ago, because I quit right before I got married. Yeah. When I quit my job, the main reason was that I felt like I was spending the best hours of my day on something that was meaningless.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt.
And I couldn't justify, I just couldn't justify it to myself anymore. I was absolutely miserable. I was extremely rich and miserable. It's so now I'm poor and happy, but
it's a trade-off.
You have to choose. Yeah. And again, I just wanted to emphasize, because I know a lot of people do have their 9 to 5 jobs and they're not privileged. They're not as privileged. Like they can't just quit and go cold turkey. And I think that I know enough women that have really meaningful 9 to 5 jobs, and
Mhm.
they're still on this very exciting spiritual journey. So it's not just like entrepreneurship isn't necessarily the end all be all, but
Yeah, I think it's really like in setting your intention. So it could be your 9 to 5, but your intention could be something that's fulfilling that progress that you want to make. Like I know a lot of people, a lot of family members who work 9 to 5, but to them, it isn't really, it doesn't have a big weight on their shoulders when they think about work. Like to them, it's just something they have to do, and they're like, I'm just working to make money, and then after work, I'm going to spend my time the way I want to spend my time, contribute that money to my community, and progress in that way.
Yeah.
But I think probably for people like you and I, that really bothered us, that like we can't work on something that isn't fulfilling us in the ways that we want to be fulfilled. Maybe people find fulfillment in a different way. So it's definitely not the only way to progress spiritually, I think, to quit your job. Don't quit your job if you love it or if you're fine with it. But at least set the intention so that while you are working, you're still working towards something that Allah would be pleased with.
Absolutely. And the more you learn about Allah, like whether it's through his 99 names or like if you're taking an Islamic course, the more you learn who you are. And
Yeah.
like that's what I wanted to say is when you said like ideal self, I was just thinking like, I know I've been working on this for a while, but what does that even mean? And I think to me, ideal self just means like learning more about Allah, because that's how I figure out who I am and what my flaws are and how I can get better.
Yeah, it's really about like how do you find fulfillment in life? Some people are fulfilled in different ways. Like for you could be learning. For me, it's like always trying to do better. And I think I don't know if it's healthy or unhealthy, but yeah, I think this conversation could spiral into an even bigger conversation about like our role in Islam or in the world and our purpose.
Yeah,
But
I wanted to say
understanding
how
that.
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing when you said you always want to do better, and that is from Allah. So like Muslims are supposed to strive towards excellence and ihsan. It's just who we are. That's in us. So you wanting to do better it's kind of like Allah nudging you towards that excellence, because we are supposed to be the best at what we're doing. And I do think that's natural to us as people. So it doesn't mean you have to be the best at reading Arabic. It could be that you're the best at being an engineer, right?
Yeah.
But whatever role you're in, you always want to be striving. And I think that's also what made me quit and go into entrepreneurship, is like I was literally not striving in my day-to-day job. I was doing the least possible to get by, and that was un-Islamic to me. I was like, this isn't even ethical. Like this doesn't feel like halal income anymore because I'm doing the least possible. So there's all those conversations that went on.
I felt exactly the same. We need to talk about this later.
Yeah, this is like part 2. Absolutely. So this was a ton of fun. I know a lot of folks are wondering how they can get their hands on this game. So this is called the 2 a.m. Talk. Tell us again, remind us what it is and how they can get their hands on it.
Yeah, so the 2 a.m. Talk is a spiritual conversation starter game. It comes with a bunch of cards with 2 decks that prompt spiritual conversations like we just had today. It has 2 levels. So the first level is called Us, and this level explores topics and questions on Islam, on community, and on the greater society. And then you move on to the second level, which is called the Self. So this one it gets really deep, and you're really exploring your personal values and your own self. You end with a final card, and you can call it a night after you've done. You usually end up playing up until sunrise anyways. It's a super fun game. Conversations are always different depending on who you're playing with and how many people you're playing with. So it's definitely one you could play over and over again and still have as much fun as you did the first time. I would recommend you buy this in time for Ramadan, because we are all up all night anyways. We get to a point in the night where we're just lying around talking about useless things. So might as well use that time productively while still having fun, and play the 2 a.m. Talk.
Yeah, I think it's a great hostess gift too, to bring to someone's house. I think we will be having iftars this year, so I think it makes a great hostess gift as well if you're going for iftars. But you could also buy it for yourself and just be the person who always brings the game to the parties, and then you'll become that person. And I mean, there is baraka in being that person, because these conversations are essentially reflections on Islam, and reflecting with Allah in mind. So you will get the sawab for that. So that's really beautiful
Yeah.
too.
And you can make an impact on someone that might not even go to the mosque, or might be too afraid to approach someone and have these conversations. It's just a safe space with your loved ones, and makes it very informal and easy to kind of start the exploration journey for somebody.
Yeah. So you can get it at the 2amtalk.com. Do you ship worldwide?
Yeah.
Okay. So they ship worldwide. It's $30. Is that USD?
Canadian.
Oh, it's 30 Canadian. So it's like
Yeah.
way less in USD. And how about shipping? Is it free shipping, or are they paying for shipping?
You'll have to pay for shipping,
Okay,
unfortunately.
perfect. So you're getting a deal anyways, because it's 30 Canadian. So it's actually discounted for all of you. So you can go to the 2amtalk.com and grab it before Ramadan starts. I would grab a couple, because these are really good gifts, and it's going to be unique because not a lot of folks have this yet. So you're going to want to be the one to introduce it to everyone. I see it says limited quantity available. So make sure you get it before they sell out, inshallah. And yeah, is there anything else you wanted to share with us, Saima, before we head out?
I really just hope that everyone enjoyed the live and are inspired by these conversations, and really see that this game isn't an overwhelming like Islamic quiz. It's just a good way to have meaningful conversations with people you love and are comfortable with.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us, Saima. If anyone has questions about the 2 a.m. talk, you can send her a DM. Make sure you follow her on Instagram as well. Her Instagram feed is like absolutely gorgeous. And
Thank
that's
you.
because she is very skilled in that area. So you can ask her about that too. But yeah, I hope you guys have a beautiful day, and we will be in touch soon. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.
All right, I am going to share that. I just have to put I have to put a graphic with it. I'll try to use the same graphic, and then maybe I'll archive the last one we used. But yeah, alhamdulillah, that was really nice. I really enjoyed
Yeah, it was
it.
a lot of fun. Thank you
I
so
know.
much for doing this. It was so kind of you to just be so open to it, and it's going to make such an impact for my business.
No problem. I was gonna, let me stop recording.